I've seen him in South Sudan marching marching for peace there, having strong arguments with the leaders to say, look, stop fighting each other, and do what's right for your people, not what's right for yourself. And there were just situations after situations like that. He's been relentless going around the world, despite his age, and trying to bring peace in so many different nations.
Richard, as you say there, he works so hard for human rights, and his post-presidency was regarded with the utmost respect. He started the Carter Center. Of course, his presidency, though, was criticised. Do you think unfairly so? And of course, at the end, it was marked by the Iran hostage crisis.
Timing is everything. He brought peace between Egypt and Israel during his presidency. He was ahead of his time by putting solar panels on the roof of the White House. But as you say, at the end, the Iranians effectively cost him the election. They wanted a change of leadership because he was being tough on them, and they only freed the hostages the day after he left. But I think the most important thing is that he was ahead of his time on women's rights, on the rights of all minority groups. Most people don't realize that he was vehemently against the death penalty. He felt that a country could not be truly civilized country unless they berid themselves of the death penalty. He felt, again, a lot of people don't realize he was ahead of his time on drug policy. He felt that locking people up for taking drugs was as wrong as locking people up for taking alcohol a century ago, and that people should be helped who had drug problems, not criminalized. And so many of the things that he stood for, are either coming about. Unfortunately, more and more states are abolishing the death penalty in America, and there's only a handful left that actually still impose it. Obviously, they're with some drugs now. You can buy them on the high street in America, but people can warn people of the dangers of taking them. So he's just an incredible mind that was ahead of his time on pretty well every subject you can imagine.
Richard, you yourself said that President Carter passing leaves a gaping hole in the moral leadership of the world at a time when it's needed more than ever. What are you most concerned about in terms of leadership? And of course, we're seeing the incoming 47th President of the United States, who's already announcing that he wants to take back control of the Panama Canal. Of course, President Carter had signed the treaty to hand control over to the Panamanians.
I'm not going to spend today getting involved in American politics, but what I would say is that I am obviously concerned to see women's rights in America going backwards. That when I was a teenager, we were fighting for the rights for women to be in charge of their own bodies and making their own decisions, and for the state to to get involved in decisions like that. Is palpably wrong, and it obviously very, very worried that over the next 4 years, things can go even further backwards. So we not today, but we'll be happy to speak out on issues over the next 4 years. But women's rights, gay rights, these kinds of rights that Carter stood for need to be protected, and any of us with a voice must speak out on them.